How's it going, guys? Trey Clark here, as I usually am, and I'm going to talk to you all about one of my favorite verses ever written in the Bible, Proverbs 25:2. And here's the verse. It is the glory of God to conceal a matter, and it is the honor of kings to seek it out. It's the glory of God to conceal a matter, and it is the honor of kings to seek it out. Now, what does that mean? Well, in the age of conspiracy theorists, which if any of you guys have followed me for very long, you know that I am not immune to that label. But I read it early on as I was searching out, nobody wants to be lied to, especially be one of the schmoes that just follows like sheep. But you also don't want to find yourself resisting what is an actual common sense idea, and sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes you're seeking out the truth, and so what? Am I going to convince everybody of something that doesn't really matter that much? How much does it really matter if the moon landing was real or not? That type of thing. So it is the glory of God to conceal a matter actually speaks to me a lot. I've worked with dogs and I have children, and it does actually speak to me in this way of kind of a hide and seek deal, but not in a futile scenario. Like it does strengthen your ability to reason and to do things that I would think I would want my children, how to think that I would want my children and anyone around me to be able to think like. And as far as seeking it out, it's okay. It's okay to want to know the truth. Now, what you do with that truth may be different in every scenario. I think about when I was running restaurants or running, let's just stick with restaurants, that, I was in charge of, food costs and advertising costs and stuff like that, and how you really don't need to unload the realities of where the money may be going to the busboy or dishwasher. Not that their jobs are just as hard, but we may kind of look at ourselves in this idea compared to God. What does it mean to be us versus what he already knows? So I do believe the Bible, and why I'm reading a lot of scripture, it's not because I feel like I'm blessed with any more knowledge than anybody else could have, but I happen to be spending some time with it because I do believe it's put here to solve the problems that we're going through. Is the glory of God to conceal a matter? He made the matters, okay? He hid the truth himself. It's the honor of kings to seek it out. Now, you can decide whether you're a king or not. And that's where I would like to think that I'm someone worthy of knowing the truth in most scenarios. There's also the forbidden fruit idea. And I think the wisdom comes in, it's like, where am I wasting all my time? Or am I wasting time, or do I need to speak up? And it's part of why I'm doing this right now. Instead of telling you what to think or asking you to think like I do, I'm just presenting it to you as an idea, and maybe y'all can help me out too. So glory of kings to seek it out. It's an honor to find the answer. Thank God someone looks at us as their children to where they would even play this, if it's a game, or at least let us find ourselves in a situation where we're so important that it does matter what we think of it. And as far as conspiracy theories, I don't think it's about getting it right, because, if I find out what happened to Building 7 during 9/11, what's really going to happen? Well, I'll drive myself crazy if I think that I have the answer, which I don't. And And what am I going to do with it? Am I going to waste the next 2 years of my life making a documentary? Maybe so, but if you're in touch with God, he's going to prompt you in the right direction. That's what I believe. But it is a noble experiment, or at least a calling, to find yourself wanting to know what's true or not. If you go back to Genesis, early in the Bible, very early, it talks about the Word, the truth. God is the Word. And bird is a word. And so there is something into speaking truth, or don't speak anything at all, in my opinion. Or the truth may be that you don't know. And I'm not trying to get too deep into this, but because of what's happened with, I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff that's going on with the Charlie Kirk thing, and everyone's kind of waking up to, all right, we're not being necessarily told the truth in every direction from the powers that be. This is a good verse to kind of go to. The concealing of the matter kind of becomes, how much do I want to conceal it, and how much do we as kings, if we decide that's the role we want to take, how far do we want to go as far as, the journey to deliver the truth, or get back to business in maintaining our own household? And, am I okay physically? Am I doing okay in my relationships? And often the time is no. And I don't know how many times I look at the TV and I think, well, these blue-haired nose ring freaks are trying to save the world, and they're 200 pounds overweight, and they can't even literally do anything with their hands and that type of thing. And so what I think the honor of kings is to honor the idea that you've been taken aside to say, here's a problem, solve it, find out the truth, and then do with it what you want. And then a good relationship with God is going to steer you in the right direction. So again, I don't want to be talking as if I have any more inspiration than anybody else does, but I've spent time with the church. I've walked away from it, as a matter of fact, and I've found myself close to God since I've been doing it on a personal level, with just reading scripture. And it's so powerful. And what I've learned is that almost every day-to-day problem, the Bible is not necessarily a ledger or a do this or don't do this. It's just kind of like an idea of, hey, I bet there's a story about this. And it always rings true. So I hope you all are doing well. My name is Trey Clark, and cheers. Talk to you next time.